blood is different from ours? Why is it that the African blood is superior to ours? When it comes to spirituality, not spirituality, when it comes to all this their sorcery and everything, they need the African blood to activate whatever it is they do. When it comes to the blood that has the complete what is the African blood, when it comes to everything, the African is just exceptional. And they discovered that they only have 1% of that which the African blood has. So what are those things that they need to do to see that they become like the African? These people are doing everything. They are spending thousands and billions of dollars to see the end of this. And then we have Africans who are freely taking themselves out, don't even value their skin, don't value what they have. I don't know what language we need to speak again for us to really understand that you are the real deal. You need to value yourself and not just begin to throw yourself here and there.
My sister. Oh, good day, family. I actually decided if I was going to come on, but I did say earlier that I would come on and start reading because we are on chapter 2. But I was listening to Sister, and I want to put it on again. We're just going to listen to her. This is the same Sister Abigail. She's on YouTube, everybody. Abigail Lucy Mary. That's her name, Abigail Lucy Mary. It's too much truth out here being told to us. You know, I can't imagine what is more important and interesting for us. It ain't nothing else out there more interesting than us. And we finally are seeing it, we're hearing it, we're witnessing the importance of us and our people. Yeah, this title right here is White People Need African DNA to Survive the Future. Now, last night we listened to a video of her from, who was it, the Turks, the Young Turks, TYT. And that gentleman there, we gave him credit for admitting and saying and telling white America that they are savages. They've been the savages. It's come to this. It has come to this. And we can't ignore it either. We can't let other folks be the ones that can admit it, but we can't. How that's supposed to work? Everybody else can admit it, but us. And it was done to us. These crimes, this travesty, was done to our ancestors. We should be just as able to speak on it as everybody else is. I want us to get to that point where we don't shy away from our history anymore, from what happened to our people. So yeah, let's watch this short video right here. And if I did my playlist right, then we have another one. I forgot what that one is, but I sure can go see because I'm all about learning. Yeah. It ain't nothing that nobody, white folks or black folks, can tell me. It ain't nothing. It's just 3, but they all like 15 minutes long. I guess we're going to watch all 3 of them. White people fear black people. Their population is shrinking. Hence the fight. And I don't know what that country is right there, but it's got to be Black Africa. I know it's Black America and Black Africa that are the major targets, that are the targets. It's us and our people. And then the other video is white man tells the world where white people come from. We apologize to all black people. I think I saw this video some years ago and stuff, and I was kind of, I don't know. I didn't really do any research on it or anything. I don't even think I read any comments on it. But I'm pretty sure some books and stuff that's offered from that video. So we're going to watch that too. And then the one that I was looking at, White People Need African DNA to Survive the Future. But yeah, we finna just get into this. But first, let me go ahead and get these fundamentals out the way. because I do like to follow the rules. I am Face the Nation. We're on Bolden Unchained, and we're here to assist Black America and Black media. We're looking through a spiritual lens. I'm not religious. I thought I was at one time, but as of this day, I am not religious. I don't have any forgiveness for any of the massacres that our people endured. I don't have any forgiveness for it. All of the oppressors, the babies too, the kids too, that was in the trees and stuff watching the lynchings, the young girls that were out at the lynchings, the pregnant women. I don't forgive none of them. So I'm not religious. I'm totally spiritual. All day, all night. I'm only spiritual. We look at through a spiritual lens of loyalty, resilience, and education. So right here to assist Black America, we need to know who are we loyal to. Them my main three. It's more. I'm sure it's more. But for me, them are my main three. Those are my main three because I want to know what's wrong with my people. Why my people having such a hard time with each other. And all this stigma against my people from everybody. You know, it's like, wow, everybody is willing to sacrifice life, happiness, peace, the world, the goodness of the world because of the hatred of my people. You know, that's the way I see it, you know, from other people in the world and stuff. I don't know how anybody else see it. Y'all probably see it like, you know, it ain't that deep face. But yes, it is. Yes, it is. Everybody, you know, is willing to let us be run over as long as it's not them. And I want to know why my people are content to let it be. You know, and I discovered that it's self-hatred, which Dr. Ray Hagen's coined as dedicated ignorance. I know that. But, you know, we still recognize the self-hatred when we hear that. But it's still dedicated ignorance. That's what he coined it as. I'll use them both when I want to. But I want to know what's wrong with my people. And I want to help heal my people, just like everybody else doing. That's what Sister Abigail doing, and she in Africa. Everybody's out here to heal our people. We only here for two reasons. After all this time, we're only here for two reasons. To heal our people and have Black babies. That's it and that's all. We ain't here for everything else. We're not here for everybody else. We here to heal our people and to have Black babies. When we heal our people, we heal the planet. We heal the world. That's the power of us. We were manifested from the cosmos. Can't nobody deny it. They probably going to try to. You probably going to let them. But I'm not. I'm not. It's too late for that. All of that is over with. Everything is being exposed. What do you think everything, when a flower, when it come up out of the soil and stuff, you know, you see it sprouting. And, you know, it's just a stem at first. It's just a sprout. But when it grow up and it actually take the shape and the color of the flower, you know what it is. Then you know what it is. It's like the same thing, you know. But we got to do this. I want to do this for my people. I want to heal my people. I want to help heal my people. I hope that's why you here too. You know, so yeah, we're going to be watching some videos tonight. Then we're going to read a little bit too. But I'm just trying to get through this part. Because, you know, I think this right here is the longest part. You know, but it's all about, I don't know, trying to find it where I'm not wasting my time. I'm not wasting your time. Because it's too much out there. You know, it's too much out there. I hope that when we not on, you know, together, that we on somebody else's platform learning. I know I do. I do. Let's read the copyright disclaimer. Under 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is the use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. Yeah, I know. Let's see, that's it. I got them out the way. Wow, that was quick. Yeah, I should start doing that immediately. As soon as I sit down. So see, now we can go ahead and get to the videos. Let's give some shout outs. Oh, good day, Vicky. Hi, Letitia. So good to see y'all. We finna watch some videos. Everybody telling the truth about white folks. Yep, everybody telling the truth. It's not just me. telling the truth of all this savageness. See, we ain't never tried to see what's up with this savageness and stuff. We content to let white folks make a fool out of us and make us think that they the most generous and gentle people when they ain't. They ain't. Everybody know this but us, and this time we finna find out too. Oh, it is time for us to find out too. I'm not the only one talking about this. Everybody's letting us know. All they gotta do is just be straight up with us. That's all they gotta do. They don't have to keep playing these games with us and stuff. Just be straight up. I think I did this right. Let me see. No, I did. Yeah, I tried to do it right. Okay.
A lot of issues are being birthed from the situation of the South African government and Donald Trump. A lot of things are coming out right now. And the truth is that, like I told you, we are one, we're Africans. The pain of one is the pain of all. So, this whole idea of we're not going to talk about South Africa because, I heard some content creators are like, oh, we won't talk about South Africa anymore because they say we should not talk about them. No, we won't do that because we are brothers and sisters and we're going to look out for each other. I think at this point, South Africa should have learned um, you know, from learned their lesson from situations and to also understand that their fellow melanated is looking out for them. Whatever it is that happens, we are the ones that hurt ourselves, we're the ones that heal ourselves, and that is also for a fact. Okay, we are the ones that got our backs, no one else does. So white people are inferior to blacks in South Africa, hence the agitation. A lot also is going on that the mainstream media is not talking about. And I'm going to bring you to this analyst. The reason why he said this, these are not my words anyway. The reason why he said this, he pointed out some things that had to do with resources, that had to do with other things. So let's listen to him and then we'll take it up from there.
Sex trafficking and child exploitation, it's real everywhere, thriving in darkness. But our rescue brings the light. Together we're stronger with protect.
The problem that South Africans have right now is that we don't understand white people. White people are inferior species to us. We are Homo sapiens. They've got Neanderthal blood in them. This is the science, and this is not science that was done by black people, it was done by them. Clive W. Lewis. They studied this, and they realized that they're inferior to blacks. The white population is shrinking and shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. For us, it makes no sense to descend into the savagery that they have. Whatever land that they're holding on to, either way, their numbers are dwindling. Whatever leadership that they had is dying out as well. And you know about wealth disappearing after the third generation. They're on the last generation. We're dealing with the weakest whites that the world has ever seen. I want to explain this so that people don't think that, I'm being racist by saying whites are inferior genetically. We've got different categories of evolution. We're at the echelon of that. Whites are a step below because they've also got Neanderthal DNA. Unfortunately, by the strictest definition of what a human being is, white people are just below human beings.
Remember,
you are negotiating with an animal, a wild dog. You cannot expect the same behavior of a human being that you're expecting of a dog. We need to start understanding what we're dealing with, because we're not dealing with a who.
It's like he's talking to us right here in
Everywhere
America.
in the world, white people have gone.
Who did I tell y'all was chasing our ancestors?
They've killed people. They've decimated populations everywhere.
This is my first time watching.
Around the entire globe. There's not a place where the sun shines that white people have not decimated the people.
Progressed because of savagery.
Now, we're dealing with a situation right now where America is panicking. How do we know they're panicking? Because there's an 8-week-long queue at the Bank of England for Americans trying to withdraw their gold that was mined in South Africa, that is in those vaults. That was mined from the Cape Colony, the Union of South Africa, the Republic of South Africa, shipped over to the UK to build their empire, to build America. We funded that. Our ancestors funded that from this land that was ours, which we were removed from, so that America could be built. And how does America repay us for building it? They try to stop us from reclaiming back the land. Everywhere in the world, white people have gone and progressed. They've progressed because of savagery. They've killed people. They've decimated populations everywhere, around the entire globe. There's not a place where the sun shines that white people have not decimated the people. In the world, you go to Australia, they decimated the natives. You go to America, they've removed the natives completely to a small minority. Even there's more African Americans than Native Americans. That's the whole entire point. So we now want to say, oh no, be sensible. They will lie.
Your Majesties, about the mining, when you read The Men Who Stole Africa, Dictatorland, I think that should be Dictatorland, The Men Who Stole Africa, or what's the name of this other book that I was talking about here, you understand very well this issue of mining, gold mining in South Africa, how Europe invaded. They turned South Africa into a mine den. They come to mine gold. They use the natives as slaves to mine. Is there? It's no ambiguous words. They mine gold in South Africa and neighboring countries in South Africa. This is the reason why whenever I see South Africans defend whites in their midst, I ask questions like, do you really understand your history? Do you really know who you are living with? Why do you think there is an agitation initially to even move into that space, unalive the people and steal land? Why was there a need for settlers to move in that way into South Africa? Because they saw the amount of richness that is in the underground of South Africa. They saw the amount of gold that is being harvested from that land. That was why there was an interest in that land. That was why they involved, brutality in taking out the originals of that land to occupy. Now, there are words he used, words like, there were things he said like, they progressed because of savagery. Now, these are things that you can see in history from time past, how they take advantage of originals of lands. They come to a place, gang up. They come initially and act like they love you. They are so sweet, callingness. There was a video we did here some months ago. It's not up to a year. Some months ago about the traits of the descendants of Nephilims.
Oh.
They are so cunning. They are sly like the snake. They can pretend to the core and make you believe them. This is exactly how they operate. And this is how they were able to deceive our ancestors of time past and take over our land. They do that and lure you to trust them. You tell them the secrets that you have, everything. And then at the end, they turn against you, devour you, and take that which belongs to you. We see this happening. It's not an allegation. It's not something that is alleged. It's written. Like, if people have witnessed it, people have documented it. Our ancestors went through these things, and we can feel it because we are also the continuation of our ancestors and our lineages. The pain is in. And that is why when you see one of them, you should all immediately, the hair in your skin rises. Because it wants to remind you, be on your guard, be careful of these people. Do not make the same mistake that we made. So it's like some South Africans are hypnotized or something, or there is something done on that land, I don't know, that other Africans are seeing the danger in living with these people, but South Africans do not want to see it. They can fight their brothers and sisters. Mind you, I'm not supporting any evil. If any Africans go to South Africa, any African from any part go to South Africa to commit crime, he or she should be brought, as in, he or she should be brought to face the law, right? But the truth is that the rate at which original South Africans are in defense of the settlers, you begin to ask, is this even normal? And that is why he began with saying that there is something South Africans don't understand, that these people they are dealing with are not even up to human beings. It's not my words. He said white people are below human beings. And some of you might think that Abigail is, racist. She has been saying this for some time because there are videos that I've been bringing to you here. The difference between us and them, why there shouldn't even be mingling and producing of offspring.
Oh,
I
y'all.
know many of you had hated me for that, and a lot of other things. But you see now, it is even proven by them. They are aware of this, that they are inferior to you. Why is it that they hide some findings and then later on it comes to the public? We are not interested in it. No, that's not a problem to us at all. We feel it's just coincidence. No, it just happened. We trust the white man more than we even trust ourselves. Now, not even your brother or your sister anymore. We trust the white man more than we trust ourselves. So we doubt ourselves, but we trust the white man. So how do we now trust a brother or a sister? No, that's why I said, is it that there is some incantation done on these regions or something that we cannot see the truth as it is? And that is why at this point as African, we have to come out in full force in the defense of South Africa. Because we are one. We are the ones that can protect each other. We shouldn't live in the way they had conditioned us to live separately. So that when they are targeting one region, the other region says, oh, since it's not me they are targeting, let me sit in my corner and act like they are watching South Africa. So when they are done with South Africa, you think they're going to spare you? Why do you think they created border in the first place? What is the aim of border? They give you reasons that the reason why you need border is to protect your territory. What are you protecting? Who are you protecting your territory from? Go to Europe and America. How many borders do they have from each other? How many? But in Africa, the whole idea of border is so strengthened that you can't move freely. So when they are killing the other neighbors of yours in another country, you will hang in your own region and say, it's not me. This is what the whole idea of border have done to our subconscious. It's not me, it's South Africans. But who are South Africans? South Africans are Africans. Oh, it's not me, it's Namibians. No, oh, it's not me, it's Ghanaians. Oh, it's not me, it's Zimbabweans, Tanzania. Who are those people? They are Africans. You are African. So what's the difference? Prior to all this destruction, confusion, what have you, we are Africans. That's why I keep telling you that before any of all these, things that divides us, we were one people. Al-Kabilans, your majesties. That is who we are. So forget about this border division. Forget about these language barriers and everything. If we genuinely love each other and have each other at heart, the interest of each other at heart, these people will never succeed. They know they cannot succeed if we are united. That's why they created these divisions. That's why they needed borders and tell you protect your region against your brother. Or have separate armies. The army you have, who are the army going to go and fight? We don't have a united army in the continent. They give you reasons why you shouldn't have a united army. A unified body, like what the Sahel is doing. They kicked against it. The way Sahel, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger army had, they all come together as well. So that in case if there is an enemy at the border or an enemy at the angle of Mali, all of them go together to deal with that enemy. They know if the whole of Africa have that one army, you know what happens. But I give you reasons why you need to have separate armies. So you have separate armies. When battle comes, how do we unite and fight? Your Majesties. So this is why I said it's good that we have this discussion at this point. Listen to this and leave your thoughts and opinion there at the section, Your Majesties. I'm going to see you in my next one. So love yourself, love others. Love yourself, love others. Stay safe, stay positive, Your Majesties.
Picture this. You're sitting at your desk, drowning in Slack messages.
I just wanted to say really fast that I knew it. I knew it. We're awakening to know who these people are and what they've done, who they are to us. We can't keep ignoring it. We cannot keep ignoring it, honey. I'm not. Where is the...
Just like always, many thanks to all of you for the support you give to the channel. Thank you so much to our channel members, to our anonymous supporters, to all of you, my esteemed subscribers. You are loved, celebrated, and appreciated. So one of you brought this to my notice, said I should talk about it. And I believe that we've said a lot about this topic already, but let's talk about it. Okay. There is a video circulating on YouTube about this white man who said that his type are not humans and that his type are something else from other planets. When we started the creation story here, and a lot of you were not okay with it. You were so uneasy about it because some of the things that we were talking about, it wasn't the same creation story that you know, that the Bible told you about or the Quran told you about. It was something totally different. And a lot of you were not happy about it. You wanted to feel like, oh, maybe it's racism. We are all created by the same God. We are all made by the same God, and this same God loves us so much. He made us red, black, white, blue, pink, purple, and yeah, that was how most of you felt. And we stopped talking about that here. But we stopping to talk about it, or me ceasing to talk about it, doesn't change reality. And I'm happy that this is coming from the white man. A white man. It's not today that you say, okay, maybe he heard it from some of the recent talks around. This was about 10 years ago. It's been on YouTube for over 10 years now. If I'm not mistaken, no, over 7 years. It's been on YouTube for over 7 years now. So there was something he said, and I want to take you through that, and then we deliberate more.
Good afternoon. This is Rudolf from Germany. I am addressing today specifically Afro-American people. I might be probably the first white man, Aryan German man, who is admitting something to you. I took a long time to think about this video, which I'm showing you, a very short one, about the white race. Many of you, dark-skinned people, in America mainly, have had a suspicion for a very long time. White people are not really human. And this suspicion has been around for a long, long time. And like any suspicion which is around for a long, long time, there is a little bit of truth to it. I want to admit today to you that white people originating from Northern Europe are called not aliens, they are called Aryans. Sorry about that. My brain don't function so well today. these white people are not really human from this earth like black people are, Indian people are, Asian people are. Yes, they are all humans. We white people are actually a minority, and we are, let's face the truth, also called the tall whites. Not all of them are, not all of us are tall, not all of us are completely white, but in general, that's what it is. And as some of you may know, the tall whites are not really earthly human, but we're coming out of space, out of another galaxy. We are not human as the rest of the human race. We came here from another star, we white people, in order to
They came
control
here
the
from
world.
hell.
We white people all have a secret code, a secret language under each other. We know, no matter how nice we pretend to be, we all stick together in order to control the other races, particularly the black race. And I am feeling so bad about it by now that I had to speak out here on this video and admit it. White people are not human. White people, including myself, all stick together, know the truth, which they do not want to admit to you. White people are out of space. We come from another galaxy. We all know our home planet, which we don't want to reveal because we don't want to be attacked. And we have no good intention with you. We do not want to share our wealth with you. We do not want to share our knowledge with you. You have been mistreated hundreds of years ago, and this is very, very bad. And your chances in life, to the most of you, many of you have no chance in life. You can sit and wait for work on a corner with your other friends, and work will never arrive to you. It's very, very hard, I know. And we rich people, we white people, we alien people don't want to share what we have with you, so you have a good time. This is my testimony in public. White people are from another planet. We white people all know it, and I want to apologize for everything what happened through our bad behavior to you. This is your Rudolph. Have a nice day.
Your Majesty, that was the short information. You heard from him. It's not Abigail's words. These are from his mouth, okay? When I call you kings and queens, some of you say, oh, why are you calling us kings and queens? Why are you calling us majesties?
They grow the Negroid race here first. So in actual fact, the African race are of divine origin and are in fact children of the overseers. This is seen as a bacteria implanted in your genetics as hominid genome, as was done by the overseers from Orion and Sirius. Your carbon C6 base form as black as coal grow from H1HCCON7O8 1 plus 2 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8 equals 24. Hydrogen equals 1. Helium equals 2. Carbon equals 6. Nitrogen equals 7. Oxygen equals 8. In all, 24. There has been uncovered 223 extraterritorial genes in your 24,000 genomes that travel in sets of 3 on the genes. So they in fact implanted some of their own DNA into your own. You are encoded as divine. Black matter equals 24%. Black energy equals 76%. Dark energy is expanding. Dark matter is being pulled as the universe speeds up to freeze. The planet Earth, or the water world, is moving at a speed of 135 miles per second. You have been hypnotized 6,000 years ago by witches of the you have been hypnotized 6,000 years ago by witches of the cursed evil seed of Enos, son of Seth, son of Adam, made by fallen ones of Anakim, Anunnaki, called Elohim, Alihat in the Bible and the Quran. The Anunnaki used the Pleiadians' DNA to graft and make Adumites, to Canaanites, to Canaanites. Their seeds was grafted, made and born 3,761 BCE or 4004 BC, as they record, and was only given 6,000 years to enforce their hypnotic spell of sleep over you, which expires 2000 to 2003 AD, which is 6000 AC. AC is Adam's calendar. This is the gospel from the beginnings of beginnings. This is from the beginnings, which we have seen, which we have looked at and watched and have taught humans are the only creatures that know they will one day die. This has affected human thinking as the birth of fear. Don't let others cause your death before your physical or mental time. Fear came with uncertainty, or that led to faith and beliefs that became religions of beliefs, to hopes and desires. This Ayanun proclaim concerning you and your life as Nuwapians. Life is both physical and spiritual. It appears we see them in actions and testifies to them. Ayanun proclaim to you the eternal soul, which or who is connected to the omniverse from the universe and has manipulated through us here on physical earth. So I proclaim to you what you can see and hear, so that you also may have links to all, as all of you, the all. Know this, left brain is male power analytical, and right brain is female images. These two must become one, perfection of thinking and doing energy in motion, or emotional beings, soul. This is the symbol of the braid worn on the left or the right side by the holder of the double helix of the mitochondria DNA of female or M other, mother of us both. And the male wears his braid in the back to relate to the back of the medulla oblongata. Yet both mother and father, male and female, need to connect and use the frontal lobe of the brain and the pineal gland. This is a part of my message to you. You have heard from above and is declared to you. Intellect, do not become blinded by the brightness of white light of confusion and chaos. There is no light inside your being. Light is blinding. It is blindness or faith. Not intelligent or intelligence of fact. Even the Bible and the Quranic God dwell in darkness. Then said, let there be light. And with the light came chaos.
No one does food like Puerto Rico, whether it's a chef tasting menu or a local favorite.
Well, yes, that was our sister. I just found her last night, Abigail Lucy Mary, and she be telling some truth. And she's in Africa, but that's just as important for here. These people are savages. White people are literal savages, y'all. I'm not lying on them. History is not lying on them. They not lying on themselves when they put all of this in the books. How else are we supposed to describe it? How else are we supposed to explain what this is? There's no other way to explain what this is. Not for us, not for them, not for our loved ones, for our ancestors who suffered this, who actually saw these people in the flesh or whatever the hell they are. I don't know. I don't know when they're going to reveal themselves to us. I mean, it's like we really are living in a, I don't know, twilight zone. We really are living in hell. We in some type of I don't know, a simulation or something. I don't know what the hell this is. I don't know who white people are, where they come from. But I know, when they were saying that they come from, he was saying that man was saying that they come from, another space, another galaxy. Nah, I think these folks come from hell. They come from the pits of hell. Oh, I like Sister Abigail too. I just seen her too. Yep. And I subscribed to her. And I even got me a little playlist of her and stuff because I'm looking for like minds that wants to heal my people. We want to save my people here on earth. And I want to save my people in the afterlife. I don't want my people to go to heaven with these people. No, if they did, because in each universe, there's 999 galaxies. And each galaxy got 999 planets. So maybe they did come from a galaxy in this universe. But they ain't come from outside of this universe. I don't believe white folks can go outside of this universe. Heaven is as far as they can go. They can roam around in the first universe, but I believe that's as far as they can go. And I do hope and pray. I meditate. Y'all say pray. I say meditate. I do meditate that I'm right. And that is as far as they can go. However, we do know that there's a spiritual war going on in the ethers. We know now. We didn't know, but there's a spiritual war going on in the ethers. And I think it's possible. Y'all believe that the fallen angel came to earth and all of that. One of these white folks done got out of heaven and they roaming around in the afterlife, and they done hid out. You probably done had some relations because they got that instinct wherever they go on this planet, this universe, and probably when he left, when that demon left the universe and went out to explore in the multiverse and stuff. So yeah, it's a war going on in the ethers and here, as above, so below. Ain't that what y'all be saying and stuff? I done heard a couple of people say that lately. As above, so below. It sure is. You have no idea. You have no idea. I just want my people to rethink about going to heaven. Whoever your higher power is, please ask your higher power, are you supposed to? Ask them, does it make sense for you to go to heaven with these people right here? I mean, just ask them and wait. Be sincere in it. Don't be just asking and look for, a false yes or a false no just because. Really seek inside yourself. I mean, you got to do some soul searching for this Black America. You can't leave this to your children too. We can't leave this to our children too. No matter what the ending here on earth is going to be, don't let your ending be forever and ever and ever trapped in heaven with white folks because you didn't take the time to learn and know what's being exposed. This is being exposed. This is like everything is so unprecedented. The exposure is too. The exposure of white America and what they've done is being exposed to the 10th power. I'm going to the 12th level. But it's been exposed to the 10th power, y'all. There's no way we can keep ignoring this. I mean, your Bible, you got to get our Bible too. That's the white man Bible. That Bible right there wants you to put this Bible down. Look at our Jesus right there. That's your Jesus, Black America. Willie Brown. This right here was in the race ride of Omaha. Yep. September 1919. September the 28th. We can't keep ignoring this. We cannot keep ignoring this. As difficult as it is to face, it happened. We didn't see nothing. We didn't see what they saw. We didn't see what John Hartfield saw. We didn't see what Maurice Mays saw. Even Emmett Till. Emmett Till saw them demons. Emmett Till, they revealed themselves to Emmett. I almost want to say I wish we would find some documentations, of what was really seen in the morphing, of white people when they go into this rage. It's a whole lot. And they really are pushing for Derek Chauvin to be released, y'all. So yeah, keep your heads about you and stuff, and let be what's gonna be. Yeah, let it be what's gonna be. They only trying to get a rise out of you. So when you get out there and shit, they finna call the police on you. Everybody finna start beating your ass down in the street, just like I've been telling you. What's that? The King Alfred plan. That's gonna be the King Alfred plan. Everybody and their mama finna beat you down in the street. Police finna come and beat your ass down too. Then they finna take you away. It's gonna be the King Alfred plan, and it's gonna take off like this. So yeah, Black Americans, just keep your ass at home. Don't be trying to go out protest for nobody. Let everybody get what the hell they finna get, because this is what everybody voted for. This is what everybody voted for. This is our last opportunity, possibly. I believe it is, to save our people, to save us. This is our last opportunity to save us from repeating history. Let's just say repeating history, the new history, the remix. Because it's going to be Robot Dog. It's going to be Robot City now, of a futuristic world. Can you imagine 400 years oppressed in a futuristic world? Why ain't nobody told these people? Why haven't these people thought, that we need to consult some groups of people and see how they feel about these ideas? They haven't consulted with nobody. They ain't consulted with nobody, least of all us. Least of all us. I would like to think they ain't consulted with the other people too. Because if they did, then the other people say, oh yeah, do what you do. Do what you do. Just don't let it hurt us. But see, little do they know life itself is at stake. Yep, life itself is at stake. So yeah, Black America, let's just sit back and let whatever take place, take place. That's just the course that America got to go through. That's the consequences that America has to deal with for all of this. We heard brothers say that everywhere they done went on the planet has been ravaged. They've taken their savageness everywhere with them. And they've stole, they've killed, they've manifested destiny. Y'all president talking about going to Mars. They're going to take manifest destiny to Mars. Gone to one of them sulfuric planets. Because, white folks, we're not even built the same. White folks got sulfur and hydrogen and ammonia. They probably can live on them rough planets, But for Earth, a gentle place like Earth, white folks too harsh. They too harsh for Earth. For planet Earth, they are. Too harsh for us. And there you are procreating with them. Making some beautiful babies. They some beautiful babies. But your ass was supposed to have black babies. Yep, you were supposed to have black babies. That too going to have to be rectified. You're going to have to teach them babies and stuff, to save yourself. Save your lineage, black people. It ain't about hating white folks and stuff or nothing like that. Because if you don't do it, white folks going to train them up and brainwash them to get up and marry and have babies by the savior, which they consider themselves, to prolong white life. We just saw the video. Brother said that they dying out. White folks are dying out. Their numbers are so low. They ready to sleep with anybody. Anybody. It don't even matter who. They just need to procreate. Yep. Of course, it's easier and simpler to procreate with each other, but they don't have babies that fast. And the white woman is weak. She ain't got no real strong, womb like black women do. Now, you do have some exceptions to the rule. Like that, I think that one lady I'm thinking about, she had the in vitro in vitro, whatever it's called. So she had like them 8 babies. But you do have white women that, have a lot of kids and stuff, but it ain't the norm. The norm is that, they really weak. Their bodies are weak to carry babies like that, especially over long periods of time and stuff. So anyway, whatever the reason is, the son just don't like them like that. They just wasn't made like that to keep up with the birth rate that they need. So yeah, at this point, interracial dating, interracial procreating is weaponized against your ass, Black America. Yeah. But we're here to read tonight, y'all. We are on our 4th book, The Lynchings in Duluth. Yeah, The Lynchings in Duluth. We started this last night. We just finished racial violence in the United States. Thank y'all so much. I want to thank all of y'all for being here and stuff. I know it's difficult and hard and stuff, and I'll support y'all too when you get your channel and stuff. I would love for us to support each other. There's nothing else to replace us supporting each other, And I just thank y'all. Thank you for your patience and your presence. So let's read. Yeah, so we can find out who the hell these people are. Who the fuck is white folks and why we still around them. So see, you can't trust them. Chapter 2. Oh, this book is by Michael Fedo, Fedo. Yeah, and it was forwarded or something like that by William D. Green. Yeah, with a foreword. The foreword was by William D. Green. But the author is Michael Fedo, Fedo. Duluth was then, and remains today, a thin ribbon of city, stretching along the shores of Lake Superior for 25 miles at a northeast slant. Its boundaries creep back from the lake at distances varying from a half a mile to barely 4 miles. Variously described as rugged or picturesque, Duluth is set on a hill overlooking Lake Superior. Across the St. Louis River Bay lies Superior, Wisconsin. Together, the two cities have been called the Twin Ports. Both waterfronts support active trade, although Duluth predominates. The city is situated about 155 miles northeast of Minneapolis and St. Paul, and about 150 miles southwest of the Canadian border. The dominant subculture in Duluth, as in all of Minnesota at the time, was Scandinavian. Superior Street, the main artery, follows the line of the lake and holds most of the major downtown businesses, like the hotels and clothiers and banks and restaurants. Downtown Superior Street covers about 9 blocks from 5th Avenue West to 3rd Avenue East, and is situated about 3 blocks from the lake. Duluth begins in the weedy, barren shambles that is Gary, a neighborhood initially populated by many of the city's blacks, most of whom had come from southern states in search of employment. A few blacks were native to the area of northern Minnesota, their ancestors having been with early logging and trapping concerns. About 1920, perhaps 300 of the city's 500 black residents lived in Gary. Slightly east of Morgan Park, which would evolve from northern European immigrants to become a Serbian and Slavic settlement built around a large plant erected by U.S. Steel. For many years, Morgan Park was a virtual company town, small frame houses on neat, orderly streets. Though some blacks worked at the plant, they were not allowed to live in Morgan Park, within easy commuting distances of the plant. To the east, another mile or so, was West Duluth, populated by blue-collar families, Italians, and Finns, Finns. Workers from the factories settled into neat, serviceable houses, painted white or brown, pale green or gray. Their children attended Denfeld, D-E-N-F-E-L-D, Denfeld High School, and citizens took great pride in Denfeld's athletic dominance over teams from wealthier Central High. Sound like all white folks, all weak folks. In the central or east hillside area, beginning about 4th Avenue West, was an intermingling of workers living in ordinary two-story homes as well as stately mansions built by lumber barons during the 1880s and the 1890s. Duluth's East End arbitrarily started about 15th Avenue East, moving into fashionable Woodland, Leicester Park, and Lakeside, where the professionals, the lawyers, doctors, and stockbrokers, dwelt in company with bankers and lumber and mining industrialists. Both Irene Tuscan and Jimmy Sullivan lived in West Duluth neighborhoods. Irene's father, Arnold, was a mail carrier and probably walked the city from one end to the other on various routes during his years with the Postal Service. Perhaps he was comfortable in the cozy blocks around 48th Avenue West and 6th Street, where folks in similar economic straits tended to pour together, tended to give a feeling of small town living. But if there was small town security, there was also small town gossip. And with his postman's ear for housewifely gossip, he no doubt had heard rumors about Jimmy Sullivan. Jimmy was spoiled, many used to say. The kid had too much money for his own good. He took in $140 a month down at the docks in a day, when many family men felt fortunate to earn perhaps $100. There was some resentment, too, on the part of the neighborhood men that Jimmy got the good job because his father was superintendent at the grain terminal. But the rumors that would have most distressed Mr. Tuscan were the continual references to the boys drinking. Jimmy supposedly brought hooch every chance he got. Further, Mr. Sullivan didn't directly disapprove, saying his kid was a little wild maybe, but he would eventually settle down. And at Denfeld, where teachers were considered stern disciplinarians, Jimmy was never in real trouble. Folks wondered why. He smoked cigarettes in open defiance of the school band and bragged about his easy relationship with many girls. None of this kept him from playing forward on the basketball team, and some parents were upset because the boy rarely bothered to obey training regulations, just did whatever he wanted to do. What had to disturb Mr. Tuscan about all of this was that his daughter was infatuated with the young man. He may have felt rather powerless because Irene was, after all, on her own, earning her own keep. He doubtless felt that as a father, he had a responsibility to keep his daughter from trouble, and Jimmy Sullivan looked like trouble. As the relationship between Jimmy and Irene developed, it probably crossed Arnold's mind that Jimmy might be taking advantage of Irene. Irene didn't finish school as Jimmy had. Perhaps her father thought her naive, unable to see behind Jimmy's scheming. Mercifully, the gossips didn't talk about the girl when Mr. Tuscan was within earshot. But they did talk about her. It may have been guilt by association. But if Jimmy was wild and Irene was often with him, what conclusions could the gossips drop? At the Sullivan home, Jimmy was often a center stage attraction. His father liked to talk about the boy's grit and determination. He was also a handsome boy, muscular and stocky, with a steady and confident smile. When his hair was combed straight back off his forehead, many people thought he resembled the man who modeled Arrow shirts in newspapers and magazines. His father liked to think that Jimmy was a chip off the old block. But others who knew him from the neighborhood and at school, where Jimmy had graduated in June 1920, thought him arrogant, especially regarding women. None of this kept many young girls from finding him appealing, despite, or perhaps because of his apparent penchant for vandalism and other questionable pranks. Young people, offspring of immigrant or second-generation stock, often resented traditional restrictions and were looking ahead to the bright, happy times. They were anxious to get the 20s roaring. Jimmy was a bit ahead of his time. He could make them roar already. At 8 p.m. on the night of June the 14th, Irene Tuscan boarded a Grand Avenue streetcar traveling east and got off at the Vernon Street stop. She walked several blocks west toward the circus grounds. As she approached the well-lighted circus area, she saw the entrance arch She saw the entrance arch ringed with electric and gas lights a few feet from Grand Avenue. On the other side of the arch was a passageway sprinkled with sawdust and lined with sideshow tents and concession stands. The calliope sound swelled over the grounds, mingling with delighted shrieks of youngsters and teenagers on numerous rides. Although it was not quite dark, the fully lighted passageway lent a twinkling to the carefree carnival atmosphere. Irene had not gone with Jimmy to the circus, possibly to avoid a confrontation with her father. But once there, she met him just inside the archway. With a small crowd of laughing teenagers. She joined them, and the group wandered throughout the exhibits and the sideshows until shortly after 9 p.m. By then, the couple had separated from their friends and headed towards the tracks behind the menagerie and cook tents, where about 200 people were watching the crews pack up. Perhaps the two were holding hands, touching gently, hip to hip, or perhaps their relationship was businesslike and formal. With no traces of nervousness, they may have discussed approaching the blacks. If the two watched the animals being led into cars, then crossed to the field where the circus sounds faded and located a soft spot on the ground, they may have engaged in adolescent fumblings, the damp night air playing over their bodies, and then, or perhaps a contact was made, a price agreed upon, payment would be forthcoming after the merchandise was sampled. If the couple believed they were alone, possibly the observing blacks from the circus laughed, chirping obscenities. Or it might have been that the blacks refused to pay for their pleasure. What? Oof. But a more plausible explanation of the happening was that while beyond the menagerie tents, the two may have been robbed by the blacks or merely insulted. Embarrassed and angered, the couple moved away, the slow draws and taunts echoing behind them. Irene, perhaps confused more than outraged, took her cue from Jimmy. And walking next to him, she must have felt the tenseness in his body, seen his face glower with fierce fury. Perhaps as he gathered his thoughts, he supposed they could yell rape. That would surely fix the niggers. They'd hang for that. And it's no wonder the guys at the steel plant hated niggers. The two walked to the Grand Avenue car line, boarded a streetcar, and rode to 49th Avenue West and Grand. From there, they hiked 3 blocks to the Tuscan home, where they discussed a possible plan of action. After 10 minutes, Jimmy left, possibly telling Irene to wait until she heard from him. Irene went into the house where she saw her father seated in the living room, reading a newspaper. He saw her, but he didn't say nothing. "I'm going up to bed," the girl said. Her father acknowledged her with a perfunctory grunt and returned to his paper. Hearing sounds of bedtime preparation in her parents' room, Irene stopped and looked in and saw her mother putting up her hair. Mrs. Tuscan noticed her daughter, and the girl stepped inside the room. "Mama, I met Jimmy tonight," Irene said. "We went to the circus." The weary Mrs. Tuscan perhaps yawned and smiled weakly. "All right, dear, go to bed now." Irene bathed and was in bed by 10 minutes after 11. Now, Jimmy, meanwhile, went home to change clothes before reporting to work at the Duluth, Mississippi, and Northern Ore docks at midnight. He had been working the midnight to 8 a.m. shift as a boat spotter, watching the holes in the cargo carriers fill up, then signaling the loader to stop. The hours on the job were sometimes an impediment to his active social life, and occasionally dust blew in his eyes or clogged his nostrils. But these were small sacrifices. The pay was good, and with the money he could afford the small luxuries other men his age would do without. He was popular with some of the seamen, a rough, brawling bunch, who sometimes invited him to participate in poker games when the work was slow, or they gave him good Canadian whiskey and maybe even asked him to find girls for them occasionally. No doubt the boy was flattered by the attention of the older men and pleased to be accepted by them. When he arrived this night, there were a few seamen around, and Jimmy paid little attention to their good-natured bantering. He completed the loading of one boat, and shortly after 1 a.m. told his father, P.B. Sullivan, who was night superintendent at the terminal, that Irene Tuscan had been raped by circus Negroes. Enraged, P.B. Sullivan phoned Arnold Tuscan, then called Chief John Murphy at home. It was nearly 2 a.m. when the chief was awakened by the call. A strident voice told him to get out to the ore docks immediately. But the chief, believing he was talking to a crank, demanded to know why he should leave his bed. Sullivan gave Murphy his name and position, but refused to say why he was calling. He pointedly added that the nature of the call was a serious emergency. "How many men will I need?" the chief asked. "Figure that out when you get there," Sullivan replied. The chief dressed quickly, then went down to the station and checked out a car for the drive to the West Duluth docks. There, amid shouting and haranguing, father and son reported the details of an alleged assault on Irene Tuscan. At about 10 minutes to 10 last night, Jimmy reported, he and Irene were starting for home. When they turned to leave, here were 6 blacks blocking their way. One slipped behind Jimmy and grabbed his arms, while a second black placed a pistol in the back of his ear. "Be quiet," he allegedly growled, "or I'll blow your brains out." At that point, Jimmy said he stopped struggling. The weapon, he said, scared him. Then a second roustabout, R-U-S-T-A-B-O-U-T, went through his pockets, removed his watch, examined it, but returned it. A third black grabbed Irene, placing his hand over her mouth, while a fourth man removed her ring. Several men looked at the ring, but gave it back. Then Jimmy told Murphy he was pushed forward, while 4 men dragged Irene to a clump of bushes near the railroad tracks. "Just keep still," the man with the gun reportedly told Jimmy. As Irene was settled behind some bushes, she fainted, the chief was told. She fainted, the chief was told, and Jimmy was able to watch as the blacks ravished her. That's what he said. And Jimmy was made to watch as the blacks ravished her. Whoa. When she recovered, 15 minutes later, Jimmy helped her up, and the man with the pistol pointed the direction away from the circus and told them to beat it. The couple did as they were told, and young Sullivan told Murphy that he went home, came to work, and informed his father of the incident. The story clearly distressed Murphy. Rape was not a usual crime in Duluth, but he knew it always meant trouble. Inevitably, the family of the victim would attempt revenge. But the man inside the officer couldn't fault that. Making matters worse, he probably felt that 6 blacks violated a young white girl. Using Sullivan's phone, Murphy called the yard master at the Northern Pacific Station and ordered the circus train detained. However, he was told that the train had left and was heading through the Duluth, Winnipeg, and Pacific yards en route to Virginia, about 60 miles north. Murphy made a second call to the DWMP yards, reaching the yard master after a dozen impatient rings. "This is Chief of Police Murphy," he barked. "We have an emergency here, and I want the circus train held until I can get there." His third call went to the dispatcher at the police station. "Get a hold of Fiskett, Schultz, Lading, and Olson," he ordered. "Find 10 or 12 others and have them meet me at the Duluth, Winnipeg, and Pacific lines in West Duluth right away." Captain Anthony Fiskett, a veteran officer, the second highest ranking man on the Duluth force, received a call shortly after 3 a.m. and led the contingent of officers to the rail yards by 4:30 a.m. Now, they ain't talked to the victim and she ain't been to the doctor, the hospital, nowhere, no facts, nothing at all. Just Irene was raped. Just that, and there you go. That's how it's always been. The chief had already begun jogging down the tracks, shouting to his men to divide up and cover both sides of the tracks. The beefy officers huffed down the line, trying to stay abreast of their chief and wondering why the urgency of this call. Finally, Murphy gasped that a white girl had been raped by circus niggers and that they'd have to get the guilty men. There were 6 of them, Murphy called. Nearly out of breath, Murphy pushed forward, producing his half-waking men onward, moving them out where the sparse lights of the train glowed of pale blue and yellow in the pre-dawn dark, over a quarter mile up the tracks. The great train snaked another half mile around a bend and nearly out of sight, but at last she was stopped, and the approaching officers could hear her engine hissing as they hurried towards the lead car. I think they coming. Oh, I thank y'all so much. Ooh, this is a short chapter. Maybe we can get away with 2 chapters in one. It'll speed up the reading. Yeah. Let me see here. Let me get a. Yeah, I think we can do it, y'all. Yeah, we can speed up the reading at least. Let me mark this page right here. And if not, then okay. So they run into the train because Jimmy done lied and said Irene done been raped. Chief Murphy, Captain Fiskey, and Lieutenant Schultz, a hard-bitten veteran of 22 years and years service, located the foreman's car and explained the situation. 6 blacks had raped a white girl near the menagerie tent last night, the chief explained excitedly. I want to talk to every nigger that was idle between about 9 and 10 o'clock last night, he said. Officer and 4 men clad in slacks and robes started down along the train on both sides, rounding up all the blacks on the cars, dragging them back toward the end where the rest were asleep in the segregated sleeping cars. Police stormed into the sleeping cars and began jerking drowsy workers from their racks. Get out of here, you black sons of a bitches, they snarled, poking nightsticks into the cots of the sleeping men or rudely rolling them to the floor or kicking them, to wake them up. Max Mason, a 21-year-old hand from Decatur, Alabama, and at 5 feet 4 inches, one of the shortest of the blacks employed by the circus, was lifted from his rack and dropped on the floor. God damn you, get out of here, roared the cop. Mason, who had been sleeping heavily, reached for his shoes as a blast of chilled air swept through the open car door. He grunted and mumbled incoherently. An officer grabbed his leg and twisted him back on the floor. Get over here, you black son of a bitch, and don't you talk back. Shoeless and without his shirt, Mason was pushed outside and thrown in a line with nearly 120 other black workers. And in the cold gray of morning, his teeth chattered. He apprehensively looked around at his shivering, bewildered mates, some of whom gingerly fingered bruises or leaned over retching, the results of nightsticks rammed into unsuspecting bellies. Officers, angered both by the alleged crime and at having been ordered from their beds, then swung their lanterns close to the blacks. Mason would later remember how he envied them in their blue jackets and thought perhaps he had made a mistake by leaving Alabama, where a body wouldn't freeze half to death in the middle of June. A uniformed officer paced up and down in front of the line. There were 6 of you niggers raped a white girl on the circus grounds last night. We'll have every one of you in jail in 10 minutes if we don't find those 6. So you boys that know something, you better start talking. A foreman and several other officers interrupted him, and they conferred, talking in muted voices. Finally, most of the blacks were released and returned to the warmth of their cars, while about 40 others were kept in the line. Only those boys might have been around the menagerie tent at the time, a rangy foreman said. Just them that worked in the big top or waited tables. The foreman returned to his coach, while the workers were left to shiver in the dawn on a West Duluth hill overlooking the slumbering city. PB and James Sullivan were brought out then, and the boy was asked to identify the assailants. Looking up and down the line, walking slowly, pausing to examine black faces, Jimmy turned toward Murphy and said, "They look pretty much alike to me. I don't know for sure." The officer exhorted him to try again, telling Jimmy that the charge and the crime are very serious matters, and it would be terrible to arrest the wrong people. But the young man still could not or would not make positive identifications. "Oh, don't tell me her ass picked them out." Moments later, Irene and her father were ushered to the scene in a police vehicle. And after it was determined that the girl was not in shock, she was asked if she might identify her attackers. She appeared hesitant but calm as she examined the lineup, but said the faces weren't too clear to her. Nevertheless, she identified 5 whose general size and physique seemed to resemble those who supposedly attacked her. Meanwhile, Murphy and Schultz, SCHULT, with a blistering crossfire of questions, continued grilling other blacks. Some of the blacks, puzzled or intimidated, gave incoherent or vague accounts of their whereabouts in an attempt to veil the crap game, because they were shooting craps. A few blacks apparently suspected the game was the reason for their detention, and fearing loss of their jobs and wages, wished to avoid any confrontation with the law. But from this interrogation, Murphy held 8 more men for arrest. After placing all 13 under arrest, Murphy released the circus train, which continued on to Virginia. The blacks were loaded into police cars and driven to the jail at the downtown headquarters. During the next 2 hours, Duluth officers and the arrested suspects were engaged in an exhaustive questioning intended to coerce blacks into incriminating testimony. There was no such testimony, and 7 of the 13 were released. Of the 6 who remained in custody, Chief Murphy believed that 5, Elias Clayton, Elmer Jackson, Nate Green, Lonnie Williams, and John Thomas, might have been involved in the alleged rape. The 6th man, Isaac McGee, was being held as a material witness. These 6, between the ages of 19 and 22, had joined the circus in Peru last April before the troops' northern swing. McGee was placed in a cell in the boys' division on the station's 2nd floor because there was not enough available cell space in the main floor men's department. The others were locked up just after 7 a.m. the morning of June the 15th. Chief Murphy, Fiskett, and Schultz remained at headquarters after dismissing other officers called out for the emergency. All 3, drained by the session, had misgivings about the case and wasn't sure that all the men who might have been implicated were in jail. They sat in the outer office, a room which might have been described in a detective novel as having that remote hardness, not quite dirty, not quite clean, but not quite human looking smell such rooms also seem to have. There was that sameness of nondescript hues of gray greens and washed out blues on walls and ceilings, accented by sterile carpetless floors. Finally, Murphy said that the girl and young Sullivan were too shaken to make positive identifications, and some of the stories he'd heard from the blacks didn't quite make sense. Just in case, he ventured, they had better round up some of those they'd question again. It was agreed that the three would drive the 60 miles to Virginia later in the morning to make more arrests. After Short and Fiskett had gone, the chief remained in the office another 15 minutes, contemplating the crime. It was the most deplorable he'd encountered in his long service as a police officer. The thought of the assault revolted him, and his sympathy unquestionably rested with the Tuscan family. What Murphy found particularly galling was the fact that should the blacks be convicted, as they no doubt would be, they'd receive no more than 30 years in the state penitentiary at Stillwater. The poor girl would have to endure the horror for the rest of her life. Sometimes it seemed to the troubled chief justice was not served, even when justice was done. Like many officers at his time, Murphy felt capital punishment should not have been abolished. Even death itself wasn't stern enough for thugs who violated innocent young girls. At 8:15 on June the 15th, Dr. David Graham, concluding breakfast at home, received a call from Mrs. Tuscan. She told him something awful had happened to Irene last night, and could he please come over right away? He said that he asked that she take the girl directly to the hospital, but the woman refused and insisted that Dr. Graham make a house call because she knew Irene was lying. They all knew. He arrived at the Tuscan home shortly after 9 a.m. and found the family in a state of minor hysteria. No one seemed able or willing to state precisely what had happened, but from their nervous chatter, Dr. Graham deduced that the girl had been assaulted, and he prepared for an immediate examination. The doctor was somewhat surprised that the girl apparently felt no pain or tenderness as he conducted both a speculum and digital exam. He found normal conditions present, though the girl seemed highly agitated. Dr. Graham believed Irene might have been suffering from a slight case of nervous exhaustion. That something had occurred was quite apparent to the doctor, but whatever that something was, Dr. Graham privately concluded that it probably was not rape. Chapter 3. In the years prior to World War I, Duluth was a city where race relations had never surfaced in open hostilities. And certainly very few white Duluthians could honestly feel intimidated by local blacks. But they, along with other Minnesotans, and indeed many Americans, did feel threatened. The war era provoked a Red Scare, which prompted nationwide witch hunts and accusations against any suspected disloyal elements. Millions of Americans believed ugly rumors about an imminent Red Revolution erupting in the United States. Minnesotans keenly felt the hysteria and hatred towards anything smacking of socialism or radicalism because their state had experienced both the socialistic arguments of Arthur C. Townley's nonpartisan league, as well as the right-wing patriotic haranguing from the notorious Commission of Public Safety. Townley, a bankrupt North Dakota farmer and political organizer, founded the Nonpartisan League, which gave rise to socialistic leanings among many upper Midwest farmers. The League was often linked to Bolshevism by political and business interests. Minnesota Governor J.A.A. Burnquist accused the league's leadership of being connected with lawless IWW red socialists and pacifists. So in April 1917, when Governor Burnquist urged the legislature to consider a strong bill against the anti-Americanism, the Minnesota Sedition Act was approved for 2 months before Congress enacted similar federal legislation. This bill made it illegal to print, publish, circulate, or advocate in public before more than 5 persons that men should not enlist in the armed forces, or that citizens should not aid or assist the government in carrying on the war. These forbidden activities extended significantly to the nonpartisan league. Patriotic-induced hysteria surfaced in Duluth in 1918 when a Finnish, F-I-N-N-I-S-H, when a Finnish immigrant named Ali Kukkonen, Kiukkonen, Ali, O-L-L-I, Kukkonen, Kiukkonen, who was suspected of draft evasion and opposed American involvement in World War I, was tarred, feathered, and hanged near Leicester River in Duluth's East End. Incredibly, however, his death was ruled suicide, not the lynching that was, and it's so obvious. A group calling itself Knights of Liberty took credit for abducting Kukkonen from his boarding house, but no one was ever charged with the crime. Investigators said Kukkonen hanged himself after being humiliated by the tarring and the feathering. And it was on one of these other receipts, they tarred and feathered. And I got it out of the book. They tarred. When I see it, I will bring it up to y'all. That was a normal thing with white folks. They tarred and feathered black people. Lynched them, skinned them, dismembered them. Unspeakable things. Just things you can't, yeah. Fuel and misguided patriotism among Minnesotans was the state legislature creating the Commission for Public Safety in 1917. This act granted broad power to do all acts and things not inconsistent with the constitutional laws of the state of Minnesota or the U.S., which are necessary and proper for the public safety and for the protection of life and public property or private property. Though its life was less than 2 years, there can be little doubt that the commission fostered ideas and philosophies that endured generations beyond the existence of the agencies. Created independent of any state department, the commission moved to establish county organizations similar to the state structure to protect itself against those at home whose behavior tends to weaken the war capacity. Its implied powers were so far-reaching that the 7-man unit was eventually held to be unconstitutional, but its extra-legal authorities went virtually uncontested during its reign. Its chief counsel, Ambrose Teague, T-I-G-H-E, said that its preventative force made it unnecessary to wait for disloyalty to disrupt. Prior restraint and direct violation of constitutional guarantees was common, and the state's attorney general, Lyndon Smith, said, while the courts are ordinarily the law's agent for law enforcement, they are not under the Constitution a necessary factor. Given this inordinate range of interpreting the law and the Constitution, the agency encouraged citizen reporting of disloyal activities and moved to have the teaching of German removed from public schools. In one case, the commission removed the elected mayor of the town of New Ulm from office after he had advocated that volunteer soldiers, rather than draftees, be sent into combat. But much commission activity centered on squelching the nonpartisan league. While law enforcement officers looked the other way or even participated directly in the suppression of free speech, speakers were beaten, tarred and feathered, and otherwise harassed and threatened under the blanket protection of patriotic outbursts, which were allowable. Some speakers or organizers of the league were routinely thrashed by sheriffs who further encouraged citizens to act against these dangerous elements in Minnesota. The notion was prevalent that citizens could act with impunity against what they perceived as socialistic red, or disloyal acts without fear of official reprisal. An interesting sidelight to the confrontations between the commission and the league is that the league supported gubernatorial, gubernatorial, gubernatorial candidate Charles A. Lindbergh Sr., father of the aviator, was banned from speaking in Duluth in 1918. The intolerance, openly and tactfully approved by the commission, took forms of hatred towards Catholics, Jews, and blacks. When the war ended, blacks thought that because of their efforts and sacrifices, they had won their place with full rights in American society. This stirring of independence, however, was feared by white America in the North and South alike. And whites believed that while Bolshevism was bad, a greater threat might come from blacks getting out of hand. Lothrop Stoddard, Lothrop Stoddard, Lothrop Stoddard, a popular lecturer and writer, stated that dark-skinned races constituted a worse threat to Western civilization than either the Germans or the Reds, and millions believed him. It was in this climate then, a time of economic uncertainty, a time when people were polarized along lines of intense patriotism or pressing for social reform, a time when racial and religious distrust was on the rise. That volatile clashes were not only possible, but inevitable. And in Duluth, the number of blacks had been increasing, though slowly. Some whites became alarmed at the rising black population, viewing it as a potential problem to be carefully observed in coming years. On the other hand, many well-to-do whites in the city welcomed the influx of more blacks. Cheap domestic labor was not an easy commodity here, and the grand large homes and private clubs were in constant need of help, routinely assigned to black workers. Several dozen Duluth blacks by 1916 were Haitians who came to the city with status akin to indentured servants. Their passage had been paid by Duluth whites, whom they were to serve until this debt was paid in full. A servile group, many of them speaking only pig-den English. Pig-den. They often were not aware of their rights under the law and thus stayed on at slave wages with patrons for years. It might be 7 years to work off this debt, but they might be there for 17 years, 20 years. Though blacks native to northern Minnesota were few, they recalled that racial incidents seldom occurred until after the war. Black veterans returning from overseas duty in France found that movie theaters they used to frequent without interference now admitted them only if they sat in the last 2 rows or the front 3 rows. Among longtime black residents, however, the years prior to the war and the return of the veterans signaled at least mildly uncertain times ahead in relations with the white majority. Much of this uneasiness could be traced to the strike-breaking tactics of U.S. Steel, which imported blacks to maintain the hourly wage for our workers at 25 cents. Fewer than 100 Southern blacks were recruited by the company from plantations to work at the Duluth mill. It was not a difficult decision for blacks to leave their homes. The offered salary more than doubled their present 10-cent wage. So see, they was already getting paid 10 cents. But when they went to Duluth, they were getting paid 25 cents an hour. So they came north with the promise of employment and improved pay. Tuesday morning, June 15, 1920, the Luthians bringing in their morning news tribunes from the porch and settling over coffee and breakfast, found no mention of the alleged. Hold on now. We got like 3 more pages. These are some short chapters. And found no mention of the alleged assault on Irene Tuscan. On the front page, they read a syndicated political column by Ring Lardner. Ring, R-I-N-G, Lardner, L-A-R-D-N-E-R. And also learned that because Republican presidential nominee Warren G. Harding had decided not to relinquish his Senate seat until his term expired, Governor Cox of Ohio could not appoint a Democrat to fill the post. Tuesday, like Monday, was generally cloudy with a few sprinkles fell, and a few sprinkles fell early in the day, freshened by north to northwest winds. But the sky cleared by mid-afternoon, and Duluthians began experiencing the first summery weather of the season when the thermometer peaked at 76 degrees. Even by noon, most residents still hadn't heard that anything out of the ordinary may have happened in town Monday night. But word was out in West Duluth, and reaction to it was predictably hostile. Meanwhile, Police Chief John Mercy had risen shortly before 11 a.m. from a fretful dozing. The crime and subsequent investigation had played heavily on his mind. He could not rest. He must also have been thinking that if the case could not be quickly solved, it might buy time and focus attention on his positive achievements. He undoubtedly feared eventual indictment on the rum-running charge, but believed the successful completion of this sordid indictment could establish a firm defense. Certainly a good job on so volatile a crime would gain him favor with local citizens. He already ready to lie. The authorities, they knew that girl wasn't raped. Her parents knew she wasn't raped. Jimmy and his dad and them knew she wasn't raped. But they all was ready to use the scapegoat. Yeah, Minnesota nice. How about that? What must have particularly troubled the chief, too, was how Commissioner Murnian was going to react. Short and Fiskett were waiting when Murphy arrived at the police station, and Short remarked that he had a car wash, especially for the trip. Murphy phoned Virginia police, explaining the happenings on Monday night, stating he felt a few more blacks were involved. He read the suspects' names and asked cooperation from Virginia police. If them niggers see us coming, they'll likely run out. So if your boys could make arrests, we'll hop in a machine and drive right up. Virginia police, however, turned the matter over to the St. Louis County Sheriff's deputies, and 3 of them arrived at the ground after the Robinson Big Top had been positioned. Lieutenant Soap was a precise man, and he noted time of departure from the police garage at 12:02 p.m. He, too, must have been nervous about the trip. He had, in fact, been agitated over routine business ever since that night of June the 2nd, when he had to kill Eli Vukidanovich. The press had jumped on him for that, and it was a shame that the incident warranted a grand jury probe. Short was grateful that Mercy hadn't suspended him during this investigation. He knew the chief understood what it was to be a cop under fire, to try and do your job and have everything you do chewed over and spit out by everyone. Each officer would have preferred taking the more comfortable train up to the Range City, but all understood the importance of the task. Besides, the train wasn't leaving till 3:50 p.m., and with any luck at all, the car would make the 60 miles up the Vermilion Road before then. As the lowest ranking men of the three, the chore fell on Schultz to be the driver. Weary from the previous night, the three engaged in sparse conversation during the first hour. But as the car passed through the village of Twig, about 20 miles north, Fiskett expressed concern about the situation back in Duluth. He said he was disturbed at what might happen with the three ranking officers out of the city, and that even the mayor was out of town. Mayor C.R. Magny had gone to Bemidji, Minnesota for a conference. Maybe we should call the office and check on things in town, Fiskett suggested to Murphy. Schultz added he had been thinking the same thing but dismissed it. I mean, down south you'd expect trouble, but not up here. Still, Murphy said he was concerned and told the others he'd call as soon as they reached Virginia. Meanwhile, in Virginia, sheriff's deputies approached an impatient circus foreman to explain their presence. They'd have to arrest 10 blacks, and they asked the foreman to produce them. The suspects were quickly bound over to the officers, who took them back to the small county jail. They anticipated full confessions before Murphy's arrival. Lewis Hayes, a properties man in the big top, was thrust next to Max Mason at the end of the line. The blacks who faced the deputies clearly resented the new harassment, but kept silent when a young officer stepped toward them and demanded to know who was responsible for the outrage. The officer grinned malevolently, drew his pistol, and pointed it first at Hayes, then at Mason. "Talk," he ordered. "Let's have the whole story." "Don't know nothing," the squat Mason said slowly. "You know plenty, all right. If you don't talk, I'll kill you." The black shuffled nervously and cast sidelong glances at Mason. The little guy had better watch himself, they thought. Mason shrugged. "Go ahead and shoot, 'cause I don't know nothing, so I can't say nothing." The deputy slowly cocked the pistol and brought it close to Mason's head. "We'll see about that, boy," he said, holding the barrel at Mason's ear for several seconds. Finally, he retreated and holstered his weapon. During the noon-hour lunch on Tuesday, the reported rape has circulated widely throughout West Duluth. Particularly quick to react with anger were the young men from the neighborhood. Many of them were veterans of the war who had witnessed racial strife in the European theater. Some, however, didn't join in, feeling that sort of thing belonged in the South. But after noon, word moved rapidly around the working class neighborhoods, and the cry rose everywhere that justice must be done. After all, this was one of their own, a West Duluth girl, and the anger, frustration, and the rhetoric were not to be lost on the young men returned from war who saw again an opportunity to do something that should ensure protection for helpless women and children. Louis Dundino was a 38-year-old widower who operated an auto transfer business in West Duluth. His prized possession was a green, one-ton Ford pickup truck. And because his work centered on cars, he was looked up to by younger men who were becoming fascinated with automobiles. It was mid-morning when he caught the first news of the alleged assault, and he reacted with more anger than others did. He had long distrusted blacks, having occasionally observed black boys loitering around the yard, looking at parts and equipments. So while the black men were working and stuff, the young black men was working, his ass was looking at them, thinking how he couldn't stand them, how his motherfucking ass hated them. He'd been hit by petty theft from time to time and tended to blame those boys, and knowing it wasn't even them. Still, minor theft was one thing, rape quite another. He may have considered calling his late wife's uncle, Bill Murnian, to see what might be done. But Uncle Bill didn't handle the daily workings of the police department and probably was busy enough without Lewis bothering him. Dundino never felt the reported rape was a rumor, as did some others. And about mid-afternoon, Dundino got in his truck and started driving around the West Duluth business district, hoping some of the boys he knew down the street might have some idea of what to do. If they didn't, he had plenty of ideas of his own, which was to go and lynch some black men. Yep, Dundino. Who are these people? Where are they descendants at? I'm just saying. Where the hell are their descendants at? These names here, these names must be remembered. These names must be remembered. Upon high school graduation, Leonard Hedman, Hedman, had been regarded by many in West Duluth as a young man of ideals, a young man with a fine future ahead of himself. Others, however, viewed him as something of a prankster. This opinion was most likely held by those who might have been jealous of the young man's accomplishment at Denfield's High School, where he played football and was known as the soapbox orator of his class. He later served in the Army during the war and was determined to earn a law degree. His present employment as a railroad brakeman was providing him the opportunity to save money for his education. Among former classmates, he was the best remembered for his ringing delivery of the Percy E. Thomas speech on the American infamy during declamation competition with other high schools. This speech had been written by Thomas during his undergraduate years at Northwestern University, and it was originally delivered at the Northern Oratorical Contest. At the Northern Oratorical Contest at the University of Wisconsin in 1900. The speech, which bitterly denounced the lynching of blacks in the South, described the work of a mob in a southern town. It quickly became popular among students in the Duluth high schools. The closing paragraph of that oration declares, we'll be done with this book in a week. Won't even take a week if we're going to read 2 chapters. Yep. If I stop talking and just go ahead and read the fundamentals and get them out the way, we'll be done with this book in about 5 days. Yep. The closing paragraph of that oration declares, the majority of both North and South knows that lynching is an evil, but this insight must be heeded to action. Which shall restrain the less thoughtful of the majority. We must have sentiment which guarantees a trial to the accused before a judgment bar uncorrupted by the gangrene of prejudice. We must have a sentiment that visits upon the guilty punishment as swift and unerring as the hands of God. A sentiment that restrains the shirking sheriff from watching his hands in innocence before the mob. A sentiment that desperately determines to lift the law in its majesty far above the maddened judgment and revengeful spirits of the rabble. A sentiment that will eventually say, killing by the mob is murder, the reign of lynch law anarchy, and by the help of God, this American infamy must go. He lucky white folks didn't lynch him. But Leonard Hedman was now 23 years old and confronted by what seemed a terrible reality. Black men had ravished a white girl. Black men were taking jobs at the steel plant that rightfully belonged to friends of his. He must have wondered, where would they go next? Where will insidious encroachment stop? And on that day, Headman, like many others, was troubled that the law would react meekly in view to the horror perpetuated on the young girl. Wow, his view changed really quick, didn't it? Yeah. Where at first it seemed like he was asking white America for mercy and understanding, to not be so evil. But after he read that lie, honey, he was on white folks' side. He didn't need no questions. He didn't need no police report. He didn't need no witnesses. He didn't need nothing. All he needed was that word. By late afternoon, Headman apparently wandered the streets of West Duluth, finding the rape uppermost in heated street corner conversations. The scattered crowds seemed fearless and frustrated in their important rage. They argued about the law that allowed rapists to get off with 30 years instead of death. There was, Headman must have noted, certain agreement that rapists should die. And if the law wouldn't kill them, then by God, the people would. This white folks. John Burr, B-U-R-R, was a 24-year-old shipyard employee, supplementing his income by working part-time in a West Duluth pool hall. He hadn't wished for a second job, but with a 7-month-old baby in the house, the added money was necessary. Though repulsed by the reported crime, meditate for our cities, meditate for our world, meditate for the sanity of America. Though repulsed by reported crime, Burr held reservations about storming the jail, as many at the pool hall were suggesting. He told another man wandering in that he wouldn't participate in anything like that, but privately, he decided he'd go along for the ride, just out of curiosity. Nate Nelson was not a West Duluthian. He clerked at a Michigan Street clothing store and probably viewed his job as a stepping stone towards store management and eventual ownership of a retail outlet. He looked to a promising business career in Duluth, a city where he believed Jews had a good chance for success. There were prosperous Jews in Duluth, and many had made considerable contributions to civic betterment. Nadelson, N-A-T-E-L-S-O-N, Nate Nadelson, Nadelson believed that one day he might even be able to donate funds towards a new hospital or playground. Jewish migration to Minnesota during the early 1900s concentrated heavily on Minneapolis. Wow. Well, I don't know what to say. Was that a drone passing by the window? What's this? Is somebody really driving their car, screeching? Yeah. Now there's some ask me, what's that word, the sound where you just crumble up paper and people pay you to just listen to you crumble up paper? Like they riding on their rotors or something. Let's read. Nelson believed that one day he might even be able to donate funds towards a new hospital or playground. Jewish migration to Minnesota during the early 1900s concentrated heavily on Minneapolis. It was a more vigorous, more exciting city than many in the Midwest. a city with unlimited economic opportunity. But many Jews felt the sting of anti Semitic bias in Minneapolis and found its existence much less significant. In Duluth, Nadelson was not unmindful of the Jewish attitude toward Duluth, and he wouldn't have wished to deliberately jeopardize the good fortune many Jews enjoyed there. Yet he was a white man. Too, and he felt the same awful revulsion over what supposedly happened to the girl. Further, he knew many young men from West Duluth. They shopped in his store. He knew and understood the attitudes of Duluth laborers and empathized with their outrage. They were honest, hardworking people, and Nadelson liked them. They had few pretenses, put on no airs, and if they were going to get themselves involved in something up at the jail, well, maybe he'd go along too. Wow. Yeah. Pray. You pray. I meditate, you pray. Do something. Yeah, put it in the ethers and stuff, honey. We got to save our people. Y'all hear all that? Somebody had to see to it that this horrible incident was never again repeated, he believed. The people would surely decide on that. And Jew or not, Nadelson was part of the people. Albert Johnson was excited. A 19-year-old accountant for the Duluth Street Railway. He had heard talk throughout the city about the rape and the rumblings about a group getting together to tear down the jail and take the blacks. And that would be something to watch, he thought. For 34-year-old Gilbert Henry Stevenson, a bachelor, day-to-day living had been pretty much routine and dull. Nothing of consequence had happened to him in the dozen years after he left the farm near Des Moines where he was born. One dead-end job had led to another, and during the last 8 years, he'd shifted from one town to another, picking up jobs when available, managing brief, enduring relationships with a number of faceless, nameless women who waited tables in cafes along the way. He toured as a laborer for contractors, as a carpenter's apprentice, serving the past 2 years as a truck driver for Bloom and Company in Duluth. At his age, he'd given thought to possibly settling down, but prospects didn't appear too promising. A temporary position had taken on a bit of performance, and the wanderer had resigned himself. A temporary position had taken on a bit of permanence, and the wanderer had resigned himself to a restless routine of sameness. Work, then back to the boarding house for supper. Maybe a movie on Saturday night. But this rape case, now that was something. Stevenson must have been excited as much as angered. There was talk all over town about how a big gang of fellows was going to attack the jail, and that would be something. Hell, it's like they were waiting on their time. 27-year-old William Rosen, R-O-Z-O-N, had seen his glory days during the war dwindled into frustration and monotony. An unemployed fry cook, he left his previous job because a man who had seen half the world, a man who had fought for his country, was entitled to something better out of his life. Rosen spent his recent days roaming the West End streets looking for a job. He wanted work a man could be proud of, just as he had been proud of his uniform, proud of his service. This talk about getting together to take niggers from the jail stirred him. That would be fine. White men had to stand together. There was no question. Keep their women safe. Count on him if anything came up. And also count on 20-year-old Carl Miller, a Boilermaker's helper, and Bill Hughes, a teamster, and Pat Olson, a meter inspector, and dozens, perhaps hundreds of others. We did it. We on chapter 4 for tomorrow night. Yeah, we on chapter 4 for tomorrow night. It won't take long to finish this book at all. And then it's got questions and answers in the back. Yeah, I haven't read this book either. Oh, Questioning of Irene Tuscan by a private investigator. Yeah. But yeah, we did it. We did it. We are done. And you know to keep some gratitude and a song in your heart. And you know, yeah, keep a gratitude and some songs in your heart. I have multiple songs all day long. I'm just singing to myself. You know, and that's what you got to do. Keep your faith and your sanity for you, Black America. It's very important right now. And I'm learning more and more to guard your energy. Don't let folks be coming up touching on you. I had to tell somebody tonight, a pastor, don't touch me. Yeah, I had to tell him, don't touch me. I got to protect my energy. And I did ask him if he knew anything about it. But, you know, he was one of the other people. And he said he didn't. But I just told him, I said, well, you too. You probably want to protect your energy too. I'm just saying, don't touch me. You can't touch me. I'm off limits, you know. I'm a hugger. I've always been a hugger. I've always loved people, you know, but that's strictly for my people, you know. And some of us can't even touch me. No, some of us can't even touch me. You better stay over there and say what you got to say. Because we in them times now. We don't know who finna backstab Black America for this go around right here. You see everybody scared, everybody worked up, everybody looking for a scapegoat, everybody looking to, you know, to come up. Yeah, they see blood out here, you know, and somebody ready to sell out right now. Yep, somebody ready to sell out right now. So watch your energy, you know, and try to stay away from low vibing people, period. You know what the Bible say. You know what your mama taught you. So you know how to act. You know how to, you know, portray yourself. And, you know, you got your Bible, the white folks' Bible. That's what it is. Get you your Bible too. Get the Black people's Bible. Get our Bible. Because it's time for us to learn, you know. And yeah, and that's it. Yeah, I'm going to let us go. Let's go get us some rest and rejuvenate. Oh, well, hey, Kamikaze. It's so good to see you. Yeah, I love books too. And hello, Trayvon Mooch. It's so good to see you. Hey, Chance. Oh, my family. Yeah, even the scriptures say, don't be quick to lay hands on anyone. I know that's right. Keep your hands off of me. Yep, all that touching and stuff, that's over with. For us, we as a people, Black America, we got to make sure that we protect our energy. Everybody know, and all of this is being revealed because we are the chosen ones. We have that element, that key that everybody's looking for, that they weren't given to it. We can't give it to them. They can't even get this key. The cosmos gave this key to us. You know, all the digging and scraping that white America has been doing, all the studying, the lying, the manipulating, they can't get this key. This key is, you know, is specific. It's custom made for Black people, only Black people. That's why you got to keep having Black babies. Don't keep going out here sleeping with everybody and stuff, having your babies with everybody and stuff. You know, you got to spend your money with Black folks and your sperm or your seed with your cell, you know, your egg with Black people. I mean, let's just admit the truth to it right now. We ain't got no more time to keep playing with these folks. But I love you and I'll see you tomorrow. Yeah, let's read.